Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Nescat YouTube channel. I will be talking today about rookie grades, and I'll be grading every first round rookie from the 2025 NFL draft class. Now, it was a very good season for rookies. I think that was obvious by the fact that we've seen so many rookies named in awards, in conversations for MVP even. There's been a lot of good that has come out of the 2025 draft class, but also a lot of bad. I'm going to be grading every single first round rookie on a scale of A to F. Spoiler alert, there is only one F in my opinion, and no one else really close to that. But I'll also be talking about a couple honorable mentions from the second to the seventh round. Again, like I said, a very good year for rookies. I think there are a lot of rookie standouts and a lot of guys that could get shots for rookies of the year. Obviously, the offensive and defensive rookie of the year award nominees have come out, and I'm not surprised by the choices. I think a lot of those guys deserve to be there, and the guys that are on those lists are the right guys that are there. But anyway, with all that waffle out the way, I just want to remind you guys, if you do enjoy this video, please do subscribe. It really will help out. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by the start of the next NFL season. We're 10% of the way there. It's a small channel. I'm trying to grow it. If you could help me out just by subscribing, turn on your notifications, like this video if you do like it, and let me know down below what you agree with, what you don't agree with. I know there will be some very passionate NFL fans out there. If your team's rookies are here, let me know what you thought down below. Look, now that the Super Bowl is in 2 weeks' time, I think this would be a perfect time to do these rookie grades, as a lot of teams are looking towards next year and the 2026 draft, which is obviously in 3 months' time. And again, it's a loaded draft in 2026, not as loaded as last year's, but I know with guys like Mendoza, coming into the draft, it could shape the future of the NFL for the years to come. But with all the waffle out the way, let's get straight to it. With pick number 32, the Kansas City Chiefs went with Josh Simmons, offensive tackle. I've got him as a B. Okay, so obviously the Chiefs season wasn't what they thought it was going to be. Didn't make the playoffs. Mahomes gets injured. Josh Simmons didn't do his best at protecting Patrick Mahomes in his rookie season, but I think he did enough to not call him a bust and not call him a failure of a rookie. I've put him I've given him a B. That's how we start off. We start with bang average B for Josh Simmons. With the 31st pick, the Eagles selected Jihad Campbell. Okay, outside linebacker, can play on the line. I think he had 1 sack during the season, maybe 0. I could be wrong. Again, trying to find your way around the Eagles' stacked defense can be a bit of a challenge coming in as rookie. I think he's handled that very well. I've given it an A-. And the only reason that is because the Eagles' core defensive players this year, I thought, didn't play very well, especially on the defensive line and the secondary. I know their defensive backs were very good, Quinyon, Cooper DeJean, those sort of guys. I think Zach Bourne had a bit of a fall off, but their outside linebackers, came in, Nakobe Dean and Jihad Campbell, working his way around the Eagles defense. I think he did a good job. I've given it an A-. With the 30th pick, the Buffalo Bills decided to go with Maxwell Hairston. Now, unfortunately, he spent the first month of the season on IR, and I think he actually ended the season on IR as well, if I'm not mistaken. So I've got him as null and void, if that makes sense. So all the guys on IR, I will give them what they were before they were put on IR. So I put him as a C+, simply because he made minimal impact the time that he was on the field. But the injured reserve guys, you can't really take them into account, being hurt most of their rookie year, as you'll see as we go along. Next was the Commanders. They selected Josh Connolly Jr. Washington, what a fall off from last season. Obviously, Jaden Daniels out for most of the season. They didn't have much hope coming into the season with Jaden Daniels being injured that much. They had a lot of hope going in, but unfortunately, they finished, I think, 5-12, if I'm not mistaken, and Josh Connolly didn't really help out with him. I've got him as a B-. So Josh Connolly, Washington Commanders, B- for the offensive lineman. Again, just average, nothing to really write home about. I've got him as a B-. Excuse me. Then at the 28th overall pick, the Detroit Lions went with Tyreek Collins. Now, again, similar to Washington, and it's funny because this was obviously the NFC divisional round. It was divisional round where the Washington Commanders blew out the Detroit Lions. And these two teams didn't even make the playoffs this year. But the Detroit Lions specifically was disappointing. I mean, injuries obviously did riddle their season, but I thought they were very disappointing and definitely should have made the playoffs. But I've got Tyreek Collins at a B- as well. Again, nothing to write home about. I think he had 1 sack on the season. You know, when you're an interior defensive lineman, it's difficult to make a stand, especially as a rookie. I thought he did his job, and that was about it. Nothing to really, nothing that stands out. I've got Tyreek Collins for the Detroit Lions as a B-. Malachi Starks. Now, Malachi Starks came into the Ravens' loaded defense and did make a bit of a surge towards trying to become a number 1 DB and played well. I thought he played very well in his rookie year. I've got him at a B+. Not quite at that A sort of threshold, but I think he did a good job. I think Malachi Starks, that is someone to look forward to if you're a Baltimore Ravens fan. I know there's a lot going on at the moment, missing the playoffs. Harbaugh is out. Who knows where Lamar will be next season, whether he'll be there or not. But I think Malachi Starks is someone to look out for in the years to come. I've got him as a B+. James Pierce Jr., we've got our first A threshold rookie. I think James Pierce, selected by the Atlanta Falcons with the, would have been 26th overall pick. I think he had a great rookie year, man. I think, he definitely, they drafted him, and as you'll see later, who was the other one? They drafted Jalen Walker. James Pierce and Jalen Walker both drafted as outside linebacker / edge rushers for the Atlanta Falcons. I thought James Pierce was a lot better than Jalen Walker this season. Finished with a couple sacks, I'd say 4 or 5 sacks. Got home quite a bit. Again, the Falcons very disappointing this season. They're going through sort of a rebuild now. Hiring Kevin Stefanski, he's brought Tommy Reese along with him. Michael Penix was out for most of the season. It was difficult. They've got a lot of hope there though with their receiving core and running back. Offensive line is very good, but I think James Pierce Jr. definitely showed what he could do. I've got him as an A- for the Atlanta Falcons, the 26th overall pick. 25. This is a big one. This was Jackson Dart. So Jackson Dart was selected by the New York Giants with the 25th overall pick. If you do remember, they traded up to get him to solve that quarterback problem. Obviously, he didn't start the season. They started with Russell Wilson. He came in, I want to say in week 4, week 5, sort of that area, and didn't lose that spot. And except when he got injured, obviously Jameis Winston came in for a week or two while he was in concussion protocol. I've got Jackson Dart as an A+. I know the Giants finished with 3 wins or 4 wins, whatever it was. They've got the number 2 overall pick, but he showed what you should be showing as a rookie quarterback coming in. He showed that he can lead the offense, he can lead the team, that he's a future quarterback. He is their guy going forward. John Harbaugh is coming in. He is going to use Jackson Dart to his full potential. Scatterboo's there. The receiving core can get a bit of an upgrade. The defensive line is unreal. I think the Giants have something to look forward to with Jackson Dart. I've got him as an A+ grade for the 2025 season. An unreal season. Nominated for Offensive Rookie of the Year, and rightly so. Could easily win that award. With the 25th overall pick, the Vikings selected guard Donovan Jackson, who did play very well this season in a very disappointing season for the Vikings. Again, you're in a loaded NFC North division with the Bears, Packers, and Lions, all of which played very well. Lions weren't as good as they should have been. The Bears were unreal, and the Packers were, they scraped through with a playoff spot. Also riddled by injuries. But back to the Vikings. I think Donovan Jackson played very well in a very difficult season for the Vikings. Obviously, JJ McCarthy sat out the start of the season. Carson Wentz was their quarterback. Then JJ came in and wasn't as good as he should have been. But on the defensive side of the ball, they weren't bad. I think they had something like the most pick sixes or the most interceptions this season. I don't know if it was most interception, maybe the most pick sixes. But Donovan Jackson, he did well. You know, as good as you can as a guard. Again, as a guard as a rookie guard in the NFL, it's difficult to stand out, as we'll see with guys like Tyler Booker as well. But they did what they should, and you have the spotlight on you as a rookie. You've got to do what you've got to do, and I think Donovan Jackson did that. I've got him as a B+. Not quite that A threshold again, but I've got him as a B+. So that is a B+ for Donovan Jackson. Now, Matthew Golden. Matthew Golden was obviously probably during the draft the most hyped up pick, because obviously he was picked by the Packers in Green Bay. The green and gold selected Golden and selected a wide receiver for the first time in I don't know how long. But he was very quiet the whole season. I think he had his first touchdown in the last week of the season, which, that isn't good. I know, and, especially with Christian Watson being out for a bit, he should have stepped in. Romeo Dowds was like all right again towards the end of the season. I don't know. It wasn't stand out for me, and I've got him as a C+. I think he's got a lot of room to grow. I think he was unreal at Texas. I do think he's got a lot of potential, but right now he's about wide receiver 4 or 5 on the depth chart. Again, Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, Romeo Downs, they've got all those guys there. He's got some room to grow. Who was next? Omarion Hampton, LA Chargers, obviously was on IR for not pretty much the whole season, but maybe half the season. But in the time that he was active, he made a difference. With Najee Harris being out for the whole season, he had to step into that running back 1 role. And when he was injured, it showed, because the Chargers started so well, with him as running back 1. They were looking like Super Bowl contenders. He got injured. They didn't have a run game and were relying on Justin Herbert to run the ball. But he came back and he made an impact. I've got him as a B. I don't have him quite as a B+ or A threshold, but I think Omarion Hampton is a very good player, and he showed that when he was at North Carolina. And I think he's shown enough in his rookie season to earn a B rating. Again, bang average. With the 21st overall pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers selected Derek Harmon, defensive tackle. Now, again, Steelers fans look away. That should have been a much better season than it was. I think the defense were unreal at the start of the season, especially against, you think about those games against the Jets, and what have you, where they were just shut down. And, the Steelers have that defensive mentality of just not dirty, but tough, tough defense, tough to break, led by Cam Hayward. Jalen Ramsey was there. They had a good team. Derek Harmon stepped in. Again, when you're a rookie defensive tackle, it's difficult to stand out, but I think he did his job. I've got him as a B+. I think Derek Harmon did his job on that defensive line alongside Cam Hayward. I've got a B+. Jahdae Barron, defensive back for the Broncos, was drafted number 20th overall. I've got him as a C+, and the only reason is that because you think about the Broncos defense, it's arguably the best in the league alongside the Texans and the Seahawks. So it's difficult to stand out in that defense. I know I keep saying that, difficult to stand out, but as a rookie, you have a lot of eyes on you to perform, and if you are a second or third string, player in your position on the depth chart, especially that like the Broncos, it's difficult to stand out. I think Jahdae Barron did as much as he could in limited playing time, simply because the Broncos defense was so stacked. When you're a defensive back competing with the defensive backs that they have on their team, it's very difficult to stand out. So I've got him as a C+, could argue a B-, but again, he just needs more playing time. I think he is unreal, and I think he'll be a very good player, a very good staple for the Broncos defense for years to come. 19th. Now, this is an interesting one. I've got Emeka Egbuka, obviously drafted number 19 overall. I've got him as, and I say this carefully, I've got him as an A-. Okay. I think he had one of the biggest fall-offs by a rookie during the season we've ever seen. I think for the first 4 or 5 weeks, the Buccaneers were 5-0, and he was unreal. He was getting shots for Rookie of the Year after 4 weeks, making catches with one hand, and he just fell off. He just disappeared. I think obviously the Bucs did fall apart a bit. Like I don't think that's a secret. Godwin missed games, Mike Evans missed games, and Emeka was sort of tasked with, okay, you're now wide receiver 1. Tez Johnson isn't our wide receiver 1. It's you, with our other 2 out. We need you to step up and perform. And he did for the start of the season, but then just disappeared. I promise you, all I could hear for the first 5-6 weeks was Emeka Oguga's name, and then nothing. So I've got him as an A-, but could easily be a B+. Again, it's unreal. You go from, I'd say, number 1 rookie in the league after 5 weeks to maybe cracking the top 10. So yeah, I've got an A-, but I could, put that down to a B+. It's just unfortunately how it is. Gray Zabel. Big Gray Zabel. I think Gray Zabel was one of the best rookies in the league this year. I've got him as an A+. I've been seeing some things, people putting him as a B or a C+, or I'm like, the Seahawks are in the Super Bowl in 2 weeks' time against the Patriots at the time of this recording. So what happens in that result, if you're watching this after, I'm not sure, but I know that Gray Zabel is one of the reasons the Seahawks are there. Obviously, that change around, getting rid of Geno, bringing in Donald, drafting well, bringing Emanwari and guys like that from the draft, I think building an offensive line the way they did, bringing in a rookie, Gray Zabel, was one of the best decisions that organization made in 2025. The guy was unstoppable. He was unreal. I'm not going to lie. If he wasn't a rookie, I would have given him a shot for the Pro Bowl. I thought he was just ridiculous. I know the Bears have an unreal offensive line. The Eagles' offensive line took a bit of a step back from last season. The Seahawks' offensive line needs to be talked about because the amount of time that Sam Darnold had and the amount of space he had to work with, they need to be talked about a bit more. And I think Gray Zabel is one of the reasons why. I've got him as an A+. Arguably should be nominated for Offensive Rookie of the Year. An unreal season from the young man. Next was Walter Nolan, Arizona Cardinals. I'm not going to lie, I don't even think I've seen him take a snap. I think the Cardinals were the team I watched the least in 2025. I've got him, what did I even... oh, okay. My bad. I take back everything I just said. Walter Nolan got put on IR. That's why I didn't see him take any snaps. But in saying that, the Cardinals were the team that I probably watched the least. But Walter Nolan was on IR, so I can't really comment on him. I don't even know if he played a game. If he did, I apologize. I haven't seen any tape on the Cardinals in the past month or two. So yeah, he was on IR. Again, defensive tackle, came in to, he was meant to do something and didn't. Pick 15, Jalen Walker, Atlanta Falcons. Okay, similar to James Pierce Jr., came in on the edge, got a couple sacks, a very undersized edge rusher, and I think he did well. I think he did his job. Again, like we've spoken about, the Falcons were very disappointing. Arguably the most disappointing team of 2025 with what they had, and a lot of that was due to their quarterback injury. I get that. Drake London was out for a bit. Donald Mooney missed maybe half the season. I don't know if that's a good enough excuse for a defensive end, but he did his job. I've got him as an A-. Yeah, it could be a B+, simply because James Pierce Jr. was so much better than him and drafted below him. But I've got him as an A-. Let's just go with that for now. Tyler Warren, Indianapolis Colts. Again, not as much, but like Emeka Egbuka, had a bit of a fall off. I think the first 5-6 weeks he was unreal, as the Colts obviously went 5-0 and eventually 8-1 before then going 7-1. 1-7. Excuse me. Again, the Colts, one of the biggest fall offs I've ever seen in a season by a single team, and a lot of that again is due to your quarterback getting injured. But then your quarterback is injured, you trade for guys like Sauce Gardner and bringing in, going all in on Daniel Jones, he gets injured. That's something you can't control. I get that. But I think Tyler Warren did as much as he could in his rookie year. I think he could easily get Offensive Rookie of the Year shots. I got him as an A. Okay, just an A, standard A, not quite A+. In fact, you know what? I'm going to change that to A-. I've got Tyler Warren as an A-. I don't think he's quite an A, but I've got him as an A-. I think he did well in coming in, as the number one tight end on the Colts. I think he did quite well. Kenneth Grant, Miami Dolphins defensive tackle, D. I mean, the Dolphins defense was just, I think it was ranked last in the league, 32 out of 32 for 2025. Not much to say there. He just didn't do much, and I've got him as a D. I'm sorry, it's just the way it goes. Tyler Booker, Dallas Cowboys. Again, Tyler Smith was voted to the Pro Bowl. He's alongside Tyler Booker. That's an indication that the offensive line did their job. They did well. Dak Prescott had an unreal season, much better than his previous couple years. I've got Tyler Booker as a B+. I think he did very well coming in. He brought that energy. You saw that post-draft interview of him hyping himself up. People are scared to play me in football, and he showed it. He was unreal coming out of Alabama. You have big expectations, and especially when you draft to the Cowboys, you have even bigger expectations. I think he handled himself very well. I've got Tyler Booker as a B+. Michael Williams. Michael Williams, San Francisco 49ers. He was put on IR a couple months ago. So, again, I'm not going to give him a grade. Had, I think, maybe one sack in the games he did play. But I think he tore his ACL or his Achilles or something. He did something quite serious, was put on IR. So he doesn't really get a grade. But again, Niners, when they're healthy, going to be very scary. Michael Williams is very good when he is healthy, but it's difficult to grade a guy over playing only a couple games and then getting put on an injured reserve. So yeah. Next we have Colston Loveland. Okay, now we're entering the top 10 overall picks. Colston Loveland, I've got an A+. And I think, no, you know what? I'm going to say A. He's not an A+ caliber yet. Okay, he's still competing with Cole Kmet for the number one tight end spot. And I think he definitely came alive in the playoffs. I mean, he had the game with the most receiving yards by tight end since Rob Gronkowski, or the most receiving yards by tight end in a playoff game with 197 receiving yards. That's insane. And I think he broke the record by like 20 yards. He came alive in the playoffs, with Caleb Williams as his quarterback. Again, you competing with Cole Kmet, an established tight end, a very good receiving core. I think he was used very well, especially in the playoffs, like I've said. I've got him as an A. I don't think he's quite A+. I know I put him as A+. I don't think he's quite A+, but he did play very well. Regular season, obviously, he was much quieter, but as the season went on, they started to utilize him a bit more, and I've got him as an A. Pick number 9. Here is another A+. Kelvin Banks Jr., an unreal season predicting Tyler Shock for the New Orleans Saints. What else more is there to say? I think Kelvin Banks was arguably the best offensive lineman. Him and Armin Membu were the best offensive linemen this season. A lot of expectations, and he met those expectations, if not exceeded those expectations for the New Orleans Saints. I think you've got to give the guy credit. A young guy coming into a franchise that is on the ropes, and they still were on the ropes this season, but I think they've got a lot to look forward to with Tyler Shook and this offensive line still growing. I think they need to add a bit more pieces to the team. A lot to look forward to for Saints fans. I've got Kelvin Banks Jr. as an A+. What a season.
This is me editing. I just want to apologize because I completely forgot to grade Teteroa McMillan, who's obviously an A+ in my book. My apologies. I think I saw 2 linemen and someone in between. I just skipped this person in between, which was McMillan. Teteroa McMillan, Carolina Panthers, what was it, 8th overall pick, A+ grade, unbelievable season.
Pick number 8, speaking of Armin Membu, another A+. The 2 offensive linemen, one's a tackle, one's a guard. No, they're both tackles, both left tackles. I've got them both as A+. Armin Membu and Kelvin Banks, A+ for the New York Jets and the New Orleans Saints, respectively. Armin Membu, again, if you drafted to the Jets, that is, we've seen Dante Moore literally not declare for the draft because he doesn't want to be the Jets quarterback. It's not much to look forward to if you're a Jets player, but Armin Membu silenced all of that and said, hold my beer, watch this. He was unreal. He was unreal. And it was difficult. You're changing quarterback from Justin Fields to Tyrod Taylor, back and forth. I think he did as much as he could on a very sorry franchise. Did what he could, and I think he exceeded all the expectations. I've got Armin Membu as an A+. Now, entering the top 6, these are the guys that were obviously spoken about so much before the draft happened. Number 6 overall was Ashton Jeanty for the Las Vegas Raiders. I've got him as a B-, and it could be a C+ because Jeanty had so much so much spoken about him and so many expectations coming into the season, and I don't think he really met that. And a lot of that isn't his fault. Again, we have to differentiate between whether it's primarily the player's fault or the organization's fault. The Las Vegas Raiders were a sorry franchise in 2025. Geno Smith, Pete Carroll, it was meant to be a romantic story brought back, to lead the Raiders to victory and lead them to success. Tom Brady comes in as an owner. They traded away Jacoby Myers. It just wasn't a good season for the Raiders, and I don't think Jeanty did much to change that. So I got him as a B-, just bang average, didn't do his job. He did his job, but just not to the level that he did in his Heisman season, obviously for Boise State. I got him as a B- for Ashton Jeanty. Now, entering the top 5, these are the guys that are, along with Jeanty, the elite. Okay, the elite of the elite. These are guys that are meant to carry a franchise going forward. At pick number 5, Mason Graham. I've got him as an A-. Unreal season. I think he did very well in a very stacked Browns defense, and especially defensive line, with Defensive Player of the Year, to be Myles Garrett. He did very, very well. Malik Collins is next to him, who's also very good. I think Mason Graham met his expectations, if not exceeded them. I've got him as an A-, a very good season from the former Michigan defensive tackle. At pick number 4, Big Will Campbell. Will get better soon, Campbell. Patriots in the Super Bowl. There's not much you can say about that. I know he had that shocker of a game against the Browns, but that is Myles Garrett you're dealing with, unfortunately. A Hall of Fame edge rusher, record breaker for sacks, going up against a rookie left tackle. He's gonna get 5 sacks in the game. That's just gonna happen, unfortunately. So I don't like Will Campbell getting hate because I think he is unreal. I think, you start 3 years at LSU, not give up a sack. You come in to protect Drake May. I think he did very well. And again, spent 4 weeks on IR, and came back and looked good. Didn't look any different than he did before. The Patriots are going to the Super Bowl, and he's the starting left tackle. That's all you can say. Got him as an A. Not quite an A+, but Will Campbell. New England Patriots fans, you've got something to look forward to, and it's not just Drake May or Trayvon Henderson or Keyshawn Boutte or all these guys. You've got Will Campbell on your offensive line, and shout out to Jared Wilson as well. He did very well, again getting injured, but alongside Will Campbell, 2 rookie offensive linemen. Unreal job. I've got him as an A. Pick 3 was Abdul Carter. I've got him as a B-. Again, it's a similar situation to Jahdae Barron, where you're on a New York Giants defense that's stacked, and especially the defensive line. It is literally the best defensive line in the league. For a sorry franchise, having that good of a defensive line is unreal. You've got Kayvon Thibodeau, who was not that great, and he's probably on his way out the door. Dexter Lawrence, who again had a huge fall off. Brian Burns, who was arguably the second best defensive player in the league this year. And then Abdul Carter coming in, he's 4th on that defensive line. He's got to try and make something happen. And he did as much as he could. I think he had 1 or 2 sacks on the season, where Brian Burns had 15 or 16. I've got Abdul Carter as a B-. A lot of potential to grow into. I think he wasn't the same as what he was at Penn State. But again, you have so much more competition there, a lot more expectations. And I think he sort of met those expectations instead of exceeding them. But finally, the final 2 picks, we've got Travis Hunter. Unfortunately spent, the rest of the season on IR after his knee surgery. Up until that point was maybe a C+, B-. Wasn't anything to talk about. Unfortunately, again, with these guys that are put on IR, it's very difficult to grade them because they, what could have been is the biggest way you can grade them. So Travis Hunter, again, it has been announced he will play on both sides of the ball again next season. We'll look forward to that. Jaguars have a lot to look forward to, man. They really do. I've got him as obviously a very, very good player that has a lot of very good potential to grow into, especially as a two-way player. So unfortunately spent the most of the season on IR, but a lot to look forward to with Travis Hunter. And finally, Cam Ward. Now, Cam Ward's rookie year was a tough one, and you can just tell by how many times he got sacked, how many times he had to throw the ball away. Cam Ward had zero help in his rookie year. Zero. The Titans were, in my opinion, the worst team. Them and the Jets. It's between those two for the worst teams in 2025. He had zero help, and I think he did as much as he could have for a guy who, he was obviously projected number 1 overall pick, but wasn't viewed as the most talented. He's got probably the best arm, but not the best scrambler. Is he that good in the pocket? This and that. The Titans offensive line is sorry. They just didn't help him at all. I mean, the amount of times that man got sacked this season must be a rookie record. But I've got him as a B+. I think he is a franchise quarterback. I think he can take the Titans to success if they build around him. But they've just got a lot to work on around the quarterback. Running back isn't good enough. Offensive line isn't good enough. Defense isn't good enough. Nothing there shows hope. I think they've got to draft well. They've got to trade well. They've got to have a very good offseason in order to keep Cam Ward happy. But I think he's earned a B+ grade for 2025. And with that, those are all the first round picks. I'm just going to quickly go along some honorable mentions. I'm just going to run through them. I'm not going to really, explain too much about them. But with the 33rd overall pick, obviously the Browns went with Carson Schlesinger, A+. Defensive Rookie of the Year, no questions asked. With the 35th overall pick, the Seattle Seahawks went with Nick Emanwari, A grade. Unreal, made a difference on a very stacked defense. Going to the Super Bowl, I've got him as an A grade. Xavier Watts, obviously the Falcons defensive back, A-. He started every single game, started the first game, selected with the 96th overall pick. I've got him as an A-. Harold Fannin, again, difference maker. Shedeur Sanders' biggest target this rookie year. I got him as an A. He was picked number 67 by the Cleveland Browns. I think the Cleveland Browns drafted so well in 2025. Maybe one of the best rookie classes we've ever seen alongside the New Orleans Saints. Tyler Shook, A+. Came in, is now a franchise quarterback. What else can you say? Picked 40th overall by the Saints, A+. Unreal. Arguably Offensive Rookie of the Year. I know he was nominated, so we'll wait to see what happens with that. But again, build around him. He showed what he can do. Spencer Rattler was the starter. He got benched. Tyler Shook came in and said, this is my chance. This is my team now. And he did what he was supposed to do. Huge shout out to Tyler Shook for that. Travion Henderson, A. I don't think he's quite an A+, because he had limited snaps, obviously sharing the snaps with Ramondre Stevenson for the New England Patriots. He was selected 38th overall. Again, burst of speed. Unreal player, so undersized, but so effective as both a kick returner and a running back. I think there's so much potential for Travion Henderson. I think he was nominated as Offensive Rookie of the Year. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I think I might be wrong, but I got him as an A. Lots of potential. Pats are going to the Super Bowl. Could be a Super Bowl champion in his rookie year. Luther Burden III. He was 39th overall, selected by the Chicago Bears. Again, you're competing with Roma Dunze and DJ Moore for wide receiver 1, and you still make, a very good positive effect on the positive impact on the team. I've got him as an A. Chicago Bears had an unreal season for what people projected them to have. I got Luther Burden as an A. I thought he was very good. RJ Harvey, again, A grade for the Denver Broncos. J.K. Dobbins spent most of the season on IR, and he was forced into that running back 1 position. And I don't know what that was. Sorry about that. He came in running back 1 and did his job. RJ Harvey, alongside Bo Nix, took his team to the AFC Championship. Not much more to say there. I've got him as an A. And finally, Shedeur Sanders, 144th overall, is now, as of today, a Pro Bowl quarterback in his rookie year. Obviously, that doesn't mean much. It's a popularity contest, but an unreal season for Shedeur Sanders. I think he's definitely a franchise quarterback, no matter what you say. He took a sorry team and showed that there was potential, and alongside, another honorable mention, Quinshon Judkins, who also had limited time, spent a lot of the season on IR, but made an impact in the time they were there. I think, those 3 rookies on the offensive side of the ball, namely Shedeur, Quinshon, and Harold Fannin, were unreal. Isaiah Bond was very good. And then on the defensive side of the ball, Schlesinger and Mason Graham, that just owes another big, compliment to the Browns for the way they drafted in 2025. And Shedeur, I've got him as an A-. Unreal season. Definitely showed that he can lead an NFL team and will be the starter for years to come. And then, Judkins and Scatterboo I've got as injured reserve honorable mentions. They are running back 1s respectively for their teams for the years to come, but it's difficult to give them the grade with the amount of time that they spent on injured reserve. But that's it. That was my grade for rookies in 2025. Again, an unreal draft class. I think a lot of them are, huge staples for their teams respectively for years to come. A lot of good quarterbacks, a lot of good running backs, receivers, defensive players. A lot to look forward to. Obviously we're 3 months away now from the 2026 NFL draft. The Super Bowl is in 2 weeks. It's crazy to say that. The season flew by. But that is what I think of the 2025 rookies. I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you do enjoy it, please don't forget to subscribe and leave a like down below. Turn on your post notifications for my channel so you can know whenever I upload. If you're seeing this on the shorts, how about just go check out the full video? It really helps me out a lot. And I will see you guys in the next video. Don't forget to follow all the socials. We will be making a lot of Super Bowl content leading up to the Super Bowl for the next 2 weeks. And then obviously NFL free agency starts, the draft. There's a lot to look forward to for the off season. It's another very good draft to look forward to in 2026. I want to thank you guys again for an amazing year in 2025. And I think these rookies really showed what they could do. A lot of them meeting expectations and a lot of them not. So that's what I think for 2025. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks a lot, and God bless.